Hello science fans, welcome back to Science Fun with Austin. Today we're taking a look at some potential safety hazards you may not have been aware of. It turns out there's actually a recall for spray-on sunscreen, since apparently if you spray on too much, you become flammable. We'll see how plausible that really is. And then we're also going to take a look at bandages. Supposedly, if you're covered in bandages, there is some risk that you could quite easily be ignited. Let's see if bandages hurt or help coming up. Alright, first we'll take a look at whether or not the aerosol is flammable just coming out of the can. In all likelihood it is, since to save the environment we've replaced the old CFC repellents with things like propane and butane. That could definitely be an issue if someone happened to be smoking right when you were applying it. Alright, we've established that the aerosol is definitely flammable, but let's see how much of a fire hazard the free liquid sunscreen actually is. Okay, now we've got a pool of free liquid in the bottom of the cup, and we'll give it a second or two to let the aerosol volatiles leak off. Let's see how. Oh wow! The sunscreen itself, even without the aerosol propellants, is definitely quite flammable. And leaves a nice goopy residue on your container after it burns. Alright, so it turns out that aerosolized sunscreen, either straight from the can or just in a puddle, is pretty flammable. Let's see how flammable actual bandage material is. First off, we'll start with a gauze pad. And a gauze pad will go up pretty darn quickly. But that was a gauze pad loosely held out on a fire. Let's see how a gauze pad that's in a somewhat more realistic application holds up to fire. It's taped down here so we don't have free edges. Let's see if it ignites. You can see the taped down gauze will tend to smolder a little bit. But even with a pretty good flame application, it doesn't really light up like it did with the free surface. However, you would definitely need to put this out at some point. Alright, so we'll look at a couple more materials here. This is a rolled cotton bandage here. If you happen to have a loose edge on the rolled cotton bandage, it will go up rather quickly. And as you can see, if you run, you feed more air to the flame and make the bandage really take off. Let's see about the rolled gauze. This is a little bit more synthetic. It may be more flame resistant. And you can see the rolled gauze with the synthetic material is actually doing pretty well. It melts and shrinks, but it's not actually igniting. Okay, for a final configuration, we have the sealed up gauze bandage again, but with just a trace of rubbing alcohol, which could happen if you had been disinfecting the wound prior to applying gauze. Let's see what happens. You can see the alcohol, even the small trace we've applied, is definitely burning off. The bandage is starting to scorch a little bit. It's definitely burning a lot more readily than it did by itself, but it still doesn't really seem to have the free surface area you need to get a rapid blaze going. Even if you go back and forth through the air, you really don't get it going. It's definitely flammable, but you'd have plenty of time to put that out. And doing so isn't really difficult. Now the reason we tested the rolled bandage and the rolled gauze was that there was a story I'd read where Apparently a girl had tried to make a mummy costume, and she just went up in flames. And it turns out that could actually happen very easily if you pick the wrong material. So if you are planning on doing that, spend the extra money and get the synthetic.